Perfect. All right. So we have a very special guest today with us here in the podcast, and Miss April Diamond. I am super excited to have you because, I have had the privilege, if you will, if I can talk today, to be able to talk with you on several occasions and as well as have you involved in helping me, uh, clear my voice and be able to speak my voice. So anyway, I wanted to welcome you onto the podcast and to kind of get started. Um,
Thanks, Ernie.
I wanted to kind of give you the opportunity to kind of talk a little bit about your story and how you got to where you're at, obviously with the singing, and then eventually into your coaching, and
Yes.
then we'll dive into you're going to become a new author and stuff like that now. So we're super excited about that. So we'll kind of dive into a little bit of each of these, if you will,
Yeah.
over our time together. So April Diamond, welcome.
Hey, Ernie. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been quite a journey, and I love every minute of it. And you might say I do a lot of things, but don't we all, right? We wear a lot of hats. I am April Diamond. I am your voice coach. I'm everyone's voice coach. I like to be that. I am a Billboard charting recording artist. I've had hits and still do on national radio currently. I'm a singer. I am a voice coach. My voice training system is called Let the Voice Out. You can go to letthevoiceout.com to find out more. I recently charted my recent single Feel So Good on 8 national new music radio charts and still playing in many, many markets around the country, which is very exciting. I just turned in my book to the editor. There's still some work to do. Wrote a book called Learn to Love the Sound of Your Voice. And I recently was inspired to write this particular book based on a TED Talk that I did in late October 2023, because really, truly, people are kind of inhibited about the sound of their voices. And even people that are speakers or the coach or that are singers or voiceover, like we seem to focus our voice in the areas that we feel comfortable. I like to call that your vocal center, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there is a lot more that your voice can do. I know that because I've been doing it for years. And for me, singing was the big, love. And I know for a lot of speakers who like to speak, you guys like to sing too. I know this. I know this because I've trained a lot of speakers and they say, April, can I sing? And I'm like, of course you can sing, because the training works for both, right? But I think that everyone needs to learn to love the sound of their voice because it's part of who we are. It's like our thumbprint, it's like it's our voice print. It's our calling card. In the world of making videos and reels on social media, there's no avoiding getting on there to talk about you and your business and what you're about. And I think that people kind of hesitate to do that, and they want to put pictures up and do things like that, which is great. But I think ultimately you've got to talk to your people. And the way I like to talk to people is through song, right? Singing and then helping other people release their voices so they can tell their story and ultimately give it out to the world. And in the world of entrepreneurs and real estate investors, like with what you do, and myself being a realtor, hey, April Diamond Realtor, there's another hat. I think that the communication is vital. It's super important. And even though you may have your intro down or what you want to say, you're talking to different people. And getting to know people and know your tribe and knowing how to communicate with them is essential, right?
Yep, totally. Yeah. So how long have you? I guess when did you get into singing, and then when did that start? The love of
Yes.
it, and then when did you kind of transition into actual being the artist and start recording
Yeah.
for livelihood?
I started singing when I was a little kid, like most all of us do, with the hairbrush in the mirror, right? Singing, love to sing. I grew up in church, so there were always opportunities for me to sing in my little church and sing in my little church choir. And that all started from a very pushy grandmother, who, thank God for her, pushed me to sing my first solo in church. I tell that story a lot. And from there, it just sort of took off and was something for me that I have always loved to do and continue, obviously, to this day to do. I think singing for me was always something to conquer because I loved it. And I had a lot of fears growing up. I was a kid full of fears. I had a lot of anxiety. There were a lot of traumatic things that happened in my families and just, being a kid of divorce and all these things. I had to learn to manage my anxiety and my depression, frankly, into a way that I think I had a conversation with myself when I was 9 years old. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to be afraid of everything, I might as well do everything that I'm afraid of. And that's what I did. And I continued to do it. So I made myself sing. I made myself, be successful in, going to audition and being in shows and ultimately seeking out vocal training and then going to college and then making myself study with one of the hardest vocal coaches in the school that everyone was literally afraid to go to. I went to her and she was the best. I just focused on those things that I was scared of and I put myself in that. What is it? What is JT? I want to say hi to JT. What does JT call it? The hot seat?
The hot seat.
I put myself in the hot seat all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with putting myself in the hot seat because there is tremendous success in the hot seat. Like you find out what you're really made of. And to me, the singing part was like, okay, let's see how far I can go with it. And obviously you can go all the way because now I'm being heard on radio. It's estimated that, over 10 million people are hearing me sing every month, every week. I don't know, maybe every day. I don't know, hundreds of thousands of radio stations. So, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And then, how it filters down into the world of vocal coaching. It's like, I learned from training singers for many years. I've been doing it for a long time. And transitioning more into the music and not as much voice coaching, because that was my goal, is to get on tour and write books and sell a vocal training masterclass, which is in the works right now. But Let the Voice Out, my voice training system, was created from my own fears and how I conquered them.
Okay.
And then I learned that I could translate that to other people and say, you know what? You don't have to be afraid of that, because that little awkward thing in your voice that you think sounds really weird, or if you think your voice sounds odd for some reason, or you stutter, or you have a glitch, like there's always weird vocal things that happen and we don't know what they are.
Right.
Those are indicators that you're either like, you need better support and you need to think more methodically and give yourself time to think and speak, whatever it is you're speaking or singing. There's an emotional attachment to our voices as well. So there could be an emotional space that it's hitting, and that's why your voice glitches like that. I mean, there are so many multiple variables in the voice that once you realize what they are and you clear it up, you're like, wow. You're like, okay, well, what else can I do?
Yeah.
And it just keeps going. So I train people to let the voice out, is what I do. I train people to look past, and even people that have had vocal training, I teach them to look past that and say, okay, well, that person told me I can only do this. And so I'm like, well, if you want to stick where your vocal center is, you could just stay there, or you can learn this.
Yeah.
Right. So I go here.
Yeah. Well, and that's and I appreciate that, because for me, I always felt like I'm in that comfort zone, and I always have that, where I'm always felt like I was projecting in a very monotone way, and because I just wasn't hitting my different registers, I wasn't giving the emphasis to where the emphasis needed to be. I wasn't being slow and kind of, to really get people to connect with a different portion of the story. And super excited when, hey, everything's, and I think, some of those, you're just not, part of it, I think, is like the environment that you're in. So if I'm doing it as an investor, there wasn't really a need for me to be excited. There wasn't really a need for me to go get, low to get people to connect to the story. Like same thing with doing, the other ads there just wasn't. Like I'm not out in front of the crowd. But now that that's, on the horizon for myself, I need someone like you, like coaching. And that's why, we've connected over the last, several months. Because it's really like, not that I'm afraid of the voice. It's just, you don't know or how to really tap into it. And then that's really where, like someone with your expertise, I love to sing, and there's times that I feel like I'm alfalfa when I'm singing. And people may not like the way I sound, but I'm okay with it,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point. And what you were saying a second ago about the elevating the voice and getting excited and or being deep in thought, like there's different tonalities to your voice when you're speaking to people, which evokes a different kind of response.
Mhm.
And when you know how to manage the way that you speak to somebody, you know how to evoke the response that you want to get. And I mean, it may sound like vocal manipulation in a way, but I mean, it is, but in a good way, in that you're connecting, right? It's not manipulation. It's connection is
Yeah.
what it is. Like you're hitting people in a space that's a real authentic place. And the quirks that we have are indicators, our voice fluctuates. Like I said, they're indicators of the voice wants to go deeper or the voice is growing and it's something to explore, not something to ignore.
Yeah.
Right. Um, and yeah, the singing thing is like, look, I'm convinced that everybody wants to learn to sing. Like, who wouldn't? I ask people this: if you knew you could sing and sing well, would you sing? I've never had anyone say no. I have had people say, well, I can't really sing, but you should hear my sister. She's really good. Or my neighbor's daughter, like she's been on shows, she's been on The Voice or whatever. Like I hear people point to other people, but they take themselves out of the space because they don't want to be on the hot seat about it. Oh, don't make me sing, because what would happen if you did that?
There
You
you go.
would subject yourself to public, like, oh, scrutiny. Oh, let's give her a number. Oh, let's let someone else decide, how what does she have a good voice? Oh, she shouldn't sing this song. This is what I used to hear and still do sometimes. Well, you shouldn't be singing pop, April. You should be singing country. Well, you should be really doing this. You should be really doing that. Or, oh, there's always like the peanut gallery of conversation. But again, in any situation, in any area of work, right, and success, you're always going to have that group of people that's like standing back, giving you judging, right? And so I'm
Always,
just like,
always.
join the family, join the club, or peace out.
Yeah. Well,
Peace out.
like they always
I
talk
keep
about,
going.
there's the 51% that like you and there's the 49% that don't, right? So and you still win the
Yeah.
favoritism. So it doesn't matter. Um,
It doesn't matter. It's going to be there. So you may as well go after it. That's how I look at it. You may as well
yeah.
just go after it. Leave that all to the side. Your tribe will follow you. The one that's not your tribe, that's okay.
Yeah.
I think over time, when you're really successful, you win over your tribe that isn't for you in the moment. And at the end of the day, it's okay. Not everybody has to be there. But what I think that singing and building your voice and speaking does is it creates an element of excitement, happiness, and confidence that wasn't there before. Because you can be scripted and you can say what you're going to say, and you just have this kind of mechanical robotic thing, and it doesn't translate the way authenticity does.
Yeah.
Like what I'm telling you, like back when my grandmother made me sing when I was a little girl. Like when I was a little girl, I was like, leave me alone.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'm like, leave me alone. Like I hid because I didn't want to talk to her because I knew what she was going to tell me.
Yeah.
And
I
thank
mean,
God for people like
that
that.
was the coach. I mean, that's the person like you're talking about. It's like, oh, you need to listen to April, because she's phenomenal when she sings, and when you're at such a young age, impressionable age, is like, yeah, you don't want to hear
Yeah.
that or understand
Yeah.
it or really believe it, but she was ultimately your first coach, right? And she was the one who's like, no,
Yeah. She
yes,
was. Yeah. She annoyed everybody telling us what we were supposed to do. But the thing
yeah,
is most of the time she was right.
absolutely.
Maybe she had a rough approach because she was, from old school, but she was right.
Yeah.
She was right.
Well,
Not about everything,
and most
but
of those
it's
I
the
think
thing
are
is that she also had the same philosophy. She lived by that. She didn't care what other people thought. She did what she knew was the thing to do, and she translated that into, she spoke that into my life, and I want to speak that into other people, giving
yeah.
that gift back. That's how I look at it.
Well, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So the getting into coaching is definitely a way of kind of giving that back, which is amazing in itself and
Yeah.
difficult, right? Because I mean, now you have all your students, you have to understand where they're coming from, what you're up against, what you're working against, and really kind of get them to
Yeah.
shed all of the nonsense of what they've known up until this certain point to where and now you can take and start building from, right? And that's really the hard part with the coaching is
Yes.
dissecting it and then getting them on a trajectory of what they need to go. So that's great. So how long?
Yeah, and part of I want to add to that, part of the coaching too, and I'm not taking a whole lot of clients, just the ones that are referred to me. So whoever you refer to me, I'll try to fit in, Ernie. But I'm actually training teachers. So I'm going to have a group of Let the Voice Out certified teachers that are going to be able to take the overflow, because soon when I'm on tour, I won't be able to teach very many people. It'll be a handful. But I do have the Monday night class that people can go to. That is free. Excuse me. That is free, and everyone can go to that. But you had, I'm sorry, tell me your last, because I added to that.
What is the website for that one?
Yes, go to letthevoiceout.com. It's all there. And you should get all the information for that. The TED Talk is up there, and you can sign up for the class, the Monday night Zoom. It's at the top of the page on the website.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So your new song. Okay, so one of the things I always like to ask is, as an artist, there are those songwriters that are out there that produce the songs to essentially give over to an artist to sing that fits their vocal sides or whatever, or some artists or their self stories creates their self songs. Do you do any one of those, or you prefer one over the other, or?
A little bit of everything. I help in the process. I have producers at my label, and we come together and we create a song that we know we can put out to the world and on radio and social media everywhere. Something that can even compete for a Grammy nomination, stuff like that. So we pour over every single thing that we do. And the process is like, to describe it is like, it's taken years to get to this point, to make songs so great that radio wants to continue to play it, and that Grammy nominations consider it. So that's a whole other world. But I'm grateful to be in that space. I am grateful to be part of that, because honestly, that's just like a miracle to me, to have a team of people that want to support April Diamond like that and see her be successful. And we're being very successful. And there's a video coming out pretty soon for the new single, Feel So Good. I think we're really just about a week or two away from that. But the creative process is, the problem with the creative process, thank you, is that there's no exacto formula to find. I mean, you can go by a formula, but at the end of the day, it's got to be a story that's told in a different way than the stories you've told before.
Yeah.
And I have to take on a different sound in my voice, to sound a certain way. I can't just sing the same all the time. And these next few tracks are going to be much different than what I've sang before. And just like that, I think it relates to what you entrepreneurs and real estate investors and you guys, when you're telling stories, like, people are relating, and I want to bring this up. People are relating to, those shows like $1 Million Listing, New York, Los Angeles, that kind of thing. People listening to real estate agents talk about these big, beautiful properties. And I know I was on that show. I actually got to be on that show, $1 Million Listing. So I met Josh Flagg, and we did a whole episode in Pasadena here in California. I'm like, wow, okay. I don't know if that episode's out yet, but it's coming. But I think the storytelling, and making the conversation of real estate become like a story and becoming something that people want to talk about. Because I think that there's like you and I were talking earlier, there's like the scary part of it. Oh, the numbers. Oh, this. What about this? Oh, got to get the work done. And what about the time frame? See, there's all of these queries, all of these things. And I think that the communication for all of that and the storytelling, first for me as a realtor to the buyer and the seller, really imperative. Like, I've got to tell a story, and it's got to be, they got to be able to feel like, okay, she knows what she's talking about. I can point to these things because I got my numbers down. I know the comps. I know this, that, all those things. But if I don't tell the story, right? Like on my videos, if you go to April Diamond Realtor on Instagram, you'll see me walking around properties and going, oh, I really like this bathroom. Oh, there's that power button, where you can turn the light on. Oh, there's this new, there's all these new little things. These are things that people are really interested in. And you tell the story, right? So I think that working on your voice for entrepreneurs and real estate investors and all of you who own businesses, telling a story is really important. And you got to tell the story a little different each time, And you've got to put something in there like, oh, this time I noticed this, and last time I talked about this, but this is something that's really interesting, or this is something that I really believe in, and here's why. Tell the story, and at all costs, build your voice to the point where you really like to hear it and you're interested in manipulating it different ways to tell a real story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just enough to get up there and throw out information. Like, it's got to hit people in a space where they really believe you and they feel connected to you and they feel like that you have their best interest at heart.
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
that
And
make
I think,
sense?
and I think a lot of people, they don't have that immediate feedback, like you would in a crowd. If people are like
Yeah.
somber and people are leaving, I mean, obviously you're not connecting with those people, Um, so I think that's kind of like
Right.
the most immediate, obviously like us having a conversation now, it's tangible now, like it's immediate, like we're able to have this, communication back and forth, but I think
Yeah.
practicing, when you're practicing and there's no feedback, like even though I record and I can sit there and self-diagnose what is going on. Well, hey, I could change this a little bit. I can tune this up a little,
Yep.
but you're lacking that immediate feedback. And I feel like
Correct.
that's, some, but nonetheless, it's again, at the end of the day, it's getting to love the sound of your voice. And that's really the key to this part, of it is. I always kind of looked at things as
Yes.
it was the AY, the amaze yourself. Like I got to be able to do something different every day or every week that I was scared of,
Yeah.
much like you were talking about in the beginning of this, of the podcast.
Yeah.
You got to be able to step outside of that box that you're scared of, because there's so much
Yeah.
to do and so much to live and grow, and you got to really push yourself, in a lot of ways to do that,
Yes.
because much to your point, everybody can sing, everybody has their voice, and everybody has their thing. I'm okay with a one-hit wonder. Like I'd be okay with that, right? Because there's
Yeah.
plenty of people that have done very well with that. But is that for everybody? You know, um,
Yeah. Yeah. It's and to your point, the one hit wonder, that sounds great. Yeah, that's the differences, right? The differences in everyone's different way of telling a story, even if you're relaying the same information. Because I think there's a comparison thing that happens not only in the world of creativity, in the world of singing, okay, and speaking and using your voice, but also in the world of real estate and that kind of thing. We in business, we compare ourselves, and there's a comparison. Comparison is different than like studying something. Like, you study someone's success, or you study someone's voice, or you learn something from them. The comparison part is really easy to fall into. It is a trap. Okay, it's a really big trap. It's easy to fall into it like a second. And when I'm having a conversation with you, I could be over here looking at this other singer going, oh wow, I can I do that? I don't know if I can. She doesn't really, I can get into that so easily, and we have to be very careful to not do that. Stay in your lane of who you are and what you do, and bring that to the surface. Everybody's got a tribe of people that wants to hear their story. And even if someone else has told a similar story, they don't tell it like you do, right? If you're a realtor, if you're a real estate agent, if you're a singer, if you do voiceover, whatever you do, running a business, you are unique to yourself, and your voice is key to making you that unique person, that unique business owner, that unique whatever it is that you do. That's the appeal on social media. That's the appeal in speaking and other, like whatever it is. Be yourself, tell your story, and tell it in the way you want to tell it. That's the power, because there's a different, this by watching people.
yeah,
There's people that are like, I'm reading a script, and then there's somebody that's like, look, I really believe in this. Like, you hear me talk, I
yeah,
believe in what I do.
yeah.
Do other
No,
people do what I do? Yes, but I'm unique to myself.
yeah.
Yeah, I have a unique experience, and I pass that on.
Well, so I want to wrap up with you a little bit, but so you talked about a little bit about the book that's going to be coming out. So
Yes.
and so that's super exciting. You got the voice coaching that you're doing. You got the singing that you're doing. So, and you got the realtor that you're doing. So you have a lot of hands in a lot of different things. So what's the best way for people to get in touch with
Yeah.
you? and then,
Yeah.
how can they follow you?
So talking about the book really quick. Yeah. So I have a couple Instagrams. My main one is April Diamond Music on Instagram. I go live there a lot. And I've interviewed some of our people in our tribe, right? The book that I'm releasing is called Learn to Love the Sound of Your Voice. And the book is really about the mindset of learning how to change your voice and to level up your voice, to make your voice what you want it to be instead of defaulting into whatever it is where you feel like you don't have anywhere else to go. And in some circles of vocal coaching, they think that, either you have it or you don't, and that your voice is what it is, so just get used to it. And I say there's always room for improvement, and there's always a way to level up and change it, because the voice is a very powerful instrument, and you can change it. You can make it what you want it to be. And Learn to Love the Sound of Your Voice is exactly about that, where I teach you how to center yourself and insulate yourself from judgment or feeling, ridiculed or whatever you might feel if you put yourself out there, both singing, speaking, and anything else. And I teach you how to build your own personal power as a speaker and a singer. And I think it's going to be very successful, because you get the power. And all of you watching, you guys are all powerful people. You guys all have something to offer the world, and you should be able to be empowered to say it in the highest and best possible way. And that's what Learn to Love the Sound of Your Voice is all about. So if you want to know more about me, you can go to letthevoiceout.com and just send me an email there. Okay, you can DM me on Instagram at April Diamond Music. I do get a lot of DMs, so I have to scroll through them. It takes a little longer, but the website is the fastest. You can reach out to me on my website, aprildiamond.com. I do get those emails too. And my PR girl, Rachel Weaver, if you're interested in anything, excuse me, April Diamond and performances and things like that, you can go to aprildiamond.com and you'll see my EPK there, and it tells my bio and everything, and the national anthems and the chart position and the songs and the music, Spotify, April Diamond. Just search April Diamond, you'll see all of it, and reach out to me on my website. Yeah, letthevoiceout.com. That's the best.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you for your time, and
or call Ernie. Call Ernie. He knows.
Yeah. and obviously, with the coaching side, I can speak firsthand, what it's done for me in the time that we've been doing it. And so I appreciate it and everything. And I look forward to obviously continuing our conversations more, and we'll definitely have a stage 2, stage 3 of these interviews as we go along in our journeys together. So I'm looking forward to seeing the book come out, and we'll definitely have to do another podcast when that happens, and so we'll make it all happen.
Definitely.
Well, fantastic, April Diamond.
All right,
thank
Ernie,
you.
that's great. Thank you. And just a reminder to everybody, Monday night class is on the website. So join me Monday nights. It's free for a couple more weeks. So join in on and check it out, and make a profile on my website at letthevoiceout.com. Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right, Ernie. Thank you.
Thank you.